Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of What's Happening Now with CNI Solutions. Today's broadcast is going to be brought to you by Hello Guest Screen, where Hello Guest Screen, they will offer an array of personalize your Airbnb properties, TV screens with custom images and dynamic calendar view. One of the things about Hello Guest Screen that I like, and I use them a lot here in CNI Solutions, is they offer different ways for us to be able to promote whatever activity we have going on in the center at that time, whatever event we got going on, it offers that. So it's great for doctors' offices, it's great for small businesses, and it's great if you own an Airbnb. All right, some of the things we got coming up here in the near future with CNI Solutions, some of our upcoming events, we're going to the Somebody Loves You event. That's going to be on April 2nd. Here at the Bob Harrison Center. We also got our financial literacy class, LIFT, which is going to be presented through Elevate Up Solutions. And on April 12th, we're going May 31st, we're going to have our community baby shower. And then, of course, in June and July, we're going to be doing a lot of lunch and learns, right? So tonight, I got a very special guest with us tonight. I got Miss Christina Patterson, and she is the founder and innovator for Pathways to Peace. Christina, welcome.
Thank you.
So tell the viewers, what is Pathways to Peace?
So Pathways to Peace is a nonprofit corporation that is designed to help women and families with a loss of a stillbirth in real time. It's an emergency response grief program. We sponsor a program that will go into the hospital between 24 to 48 hours after a woman has had a stillbirth. And we comfort them at the bedside. And we sometimes bring little gifts and things to, lift her spirits, because that's a very hard time.
So, I got to tell you, this is a very unique nonprofit because I never heard of anything like this myself. But what prompted you yourself to want to start a nonprofit like this?
So what prompted me to want to do this is because I was that woman. I actually lost a baby when he was 5 weeks old to SIDS. Later on, we found out it was RSV, but that, and then I also had a stillbirth as well. So I have two angels, but it pegged like me to look at the hospital, because at that time I felt like I didn't have the support that I would have liked at the time in the hospital. So I want to be able to offer that to somebody.
And it's funny you mentioned that because oftentimes, I'm a father of three, and I've been to the hospital twice, had a set of twins, and that thought never once crossed my mind. Ever. Not during the whole pregnancy time, not during any of the times that my sister's was pregnant. It never crossed my mind. And now that you mention it, now I'm thinking, okay, is there anything at the hospital they offer when something like that happens?
Well, they try to do the best to seclude you. They don't put you in a room with somebody who's had a baby. They'll give you your own room, but you are on the same floor as the general population who have just had babies. Live babies, and you do hear the cries, you do hear the happy families, you hear people laughing, and you are not in that spirit, so that was one thing that really, was hard to deal with, because you feel like you kind of feel alone, it's, I want to be able to be that person to comfort someone at their bedside, to let them know that they are not alone.
Yeah. I got to tell you, Ms. Christina, there's a lot I want to get unpacked here, but there's some points I just want you to get some clarity on, or give me some clarity on. What is the percentage of stillbirths, here in either Huntsville or even the state of Alabama? What does that percentage look like?
A 78% mortality rate at this time that we are facing. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's high. That's
high.
high. So is there anything that you know of? Is there any type of legislation in place to try to lower that, or to try to get better health care, anything like that you know of?
Not that I know of. I do know of things that are taking place that have taken women's rights away that we used to have, we don't have anymore. And that could be contributing to that mortality rate. But we do have to look at where we can make a difference. And this is where I feel like I can make a difference.
78%, that's a high number. And I don't know what the other states are, and I don't know if you looked into it, but if you're telling us that we're 78%, then I got to believe that somebody else has got to be lower than that. What would make another state have a lower mortality rate than us?
Access to more innovative healthcare. There are things that other states might have legislation for. They may have allowed, their citizens to be doing and we're not doing. So I know Alabama can tend to be a little behind when it comes to certain things. We don't even have a lottery yet, but we're a little behind. But I think that we have some work to do, and this is an opportunity for improvement.
Okay, we got a question from one of the viewers. She says here, do you provide services to women who miscarries as well?
That can be something that can be in the works. Like right now, it's specifically for women who are going into the hospital and they're over 20 weeks pregnant. And they're possibly supposed to have a live baby. They want to leave with a live baby.
Right.
I know 22 weeks, I think, is the actual cutoff to where they will try to, save your baby if they can. But if they can't save your baby past that, then if you're anything under 22 weeks, then I think that is considered a miscarriage. So yes, we do.
Okay. All right. We got another question. Says here, let me see that real quick and scroll it up. It says, did you go on to have other children? Were you triggered by babies? And if so, for how long? That's a good question. Wow.
I did go on to have other babies. All of my children are actually rainbow babies. So I did go on to have the babies. I did have a miscarriage before I had my first baby. And I had my first baby. And with my son, my son that I have now, he's 10, well, 9. Sorry, about the 10. But the baby before him, he was my 5-week-old that passed.
Oh, wow.
And he passed from SIDS. So, and then my daughter that I have, she's 2 now. The baby I had before her was the stillbirth. So, I did.
Does that, does that make you, I don't know, does it make you on edge, scared to want to try again? Or does it make you say, yes, we're going to keep going?
It made us say, let's keep going. It made us, at first, you kind of feel like, I don't know, I don't want to go through this again.
Right.
But then you get that push that makes you feel like, you gotta continue. So, yeah.
Wow. We got another statement here. Says, we got a nice one. Says from Miss Taylor. Says, I love this. All right. So let me ask you this.
One of my board of directors.
One of your board of directors. All right. Hey, we appreciate you, Miss Taylor. Okay. You kind of talked about me behind the scenes about how you felt and what you was going through. How did your spouse feel? How did he cope? What was his mechanism for trying to get over that?
So he hid a lot of his sadness. He's not one to express himself in front of people.
Right.
He would cry in the car. He would, try to hide that feeling and it wasn't until later on that he told me he was crying on the way to work, or he would cry away from me, so I wouldn't get sad because I'd be sad.
Yeah, that's hard. That is hard. Wow. We as men, a lot of times we don't like to seek help, and we don't want to talk to nobody because we're men. We're manly men. We can take care of ourselves. Yeah. Women, y'all need to get help and all that, but. The reality of it is, a lot of men now are starting to seek help. They're starting to talk to counselors like this to get through what they're going through. And I have found, and since I've been dealing with Senile Solutions and being in the community and talking to people, a lot more of our Black Americans really want to get help now. And they're doing away with that stigmatism that, that's for suckers. If you're going to go see somebody, you got to be stronger than that. And that's not the case anymore. So, man, that is hard. So I know one of the things that you're wanting to do, and I guess you're going to prepare to give that to the hospital. Talk to me a little bit about this pilot program that you're putting together?
So I'm putting together a 6-month pilot program to present to Huntsville Hospital
Mm-hmm.
to allow, me and my advocates to come into the mother baby unit,
Right.
no longer than with 48 hours, hopefully within 24 hours
Mm-hmm.
of the loss, after she's had that baby. Like I was saying before, they're on the same floor as everyone else. So that's, one thing, but it's also going to be a plus for the hospital because we will be following all hospital compliance, HIPAA compliance, safety compliance, make sure we're all on the, all on the same page. But also taking relief off of the staff. They're already, got a lot going on. They're already, running. So we can take some of that off of them to kind of help out with, a mother who mentally is really going through and needs some support.
And as you talk about mentally and going through that stuff, are y'all going to offer any type of mental health services for those women and for the spouses as well?
Yes, we will. And like postpartum health services.
Mm-hmm.
So after she's discharged, we'll have weekly meetings, and that's free of charge. She'll be able to come and congregate with a group of women who have been through what she's been through, and we can uplift.
So, and I don't know if this is taboo or not. Would you talk to women who are already pregnant, 6 months, 7 months, about you and your services? Would that be like, putting a curse on somebody or not? How would, you know what I mean? How would that go about?
So if they wanted to talk about that, like if, for instance, if they know that they may have some pre-existing conditions and they don't know what to expect, I'll be glad to talk to somebody like that. But I wouldn't want to, like you said, I wouldn't want to, make anyone afraid of that. Because that's, I would want hope for anybody that's having a baby, hope for a live baby.
Right.
But I mean, but let's be real, we know that there are people who already know what they're facing beforehand. So I would be glad to talk to them, and we want to offer financial services as well for burial. That's not something that, a family plans when they get pregnant. They don't plan to lose a baby.
Man, you bring up a good point on that. That is a good point, because I would not, like with me and at the time when we were having our baby, I would not have thought of anything like that, and so how would that services work through you guys once y'all get that going? How would that work through you?
So we, expect to receive several grants to help with paying for funeral expenses, funding mental health care as well. So once we get going with the money in the bank, we'll be able to know how much we can contribute to cremation or burial. Right.
Hey, folks, those who are viewing, those who are watching, please like and share this live. And again, her information is down at the bottom of the screen. If you know somebody who's potentially gone through this or is dealing with this, or somebody who wants to support her in her mission and what she's doing, by all means, please do. Please do. We got a couple of questions here I want to go to with the viewers. One of them is, she says here, how many days will you stay with the parents?
As long as possible, as long as it takes. I know that there are going to be people who are going to require a little more, and we're going to be able to do, what's needed for that person.
Okay. All right. We got another question. She says, have you ever thought about being a speaker and if the childbirth classes? And I guess that's kind of right along with what I was talking about. Would you speak to women who are pregnant about your services, and would they feel like, why is she here? She's dooming my child already. You know what I mean? So good question.
Yeah. What was
she's basically saying
class, so like Lamont's class?
Okay. Right, like Lamont's classes and things like that.
For sure. But definitely be speaking life. Definitely be speaking life. But we will also let them know, hey, if things aren't always well planned, we're here. But we speak life on every pregnancy.
So. Some of the things I've heard happen in the hospitals and on the maternity ward, where you hear these stories about, they switched my baby or they did this. Do you ever think that a hospital would do something like that? Like, you might have had a stillborn, but you didn't know it was a stillborn, but they also knew this other lady had a good baby, and they swapped them and told her that, you know what I mean? Do you think anything like that would happen?
Anything's possible. You know, like, and I honestly, I would hope not. I've never heard of it happening here, but I'm sure it's probably happened before. But anything is possible. I wouldn't put it past any place.
Is there any form of chain of custody that takes place, like when they say, hey, we got to rush your baby to NICU, or we got to take him out, and you don't get a chance to see him or her or hold him because they rushed him right out? Where's the chain of custody at for that, for you to know when they bring your child back, that's your child?
Yeah, that's true. So I remember having my daughter, my last baby. She's 2 now. So it was kind of like that with her because I had her at 33 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as she came out, it's like, okay, mom, you know, here she is, but we got to take her, you know, took her away. From what I understand, they tag the baby the moment they take the baby out. Before the baby leaves the room, the baby is tagged, the same tag you have. So one thing about the hospitals is they have gotten very good when it comes to making sure your baby is connected to you with the tags and the digital things that they have to make sure that So it's not as easy for you to just take your baby and walk out of the hospital like you used to. Can't do that. You know, they have an alarm system. They go cold pink.
Right.
I think it's cold pink, and they'll be on you.
Okay, we got another question here. She says, Ms. Rayford, she says, typically, how are you connected to the surviving mothers? Do you only go if invited by the family? Does the hospital reach out to you? Do you hear about it and simply show up? A lot of questions there. I'll let you tackle that, you know, how you see fit.
That's a good question. So with the pilot, it is designed for the nurses, but they do have to get permission from the family to reach out. And we'll be there within 24 to 48 hours. And let me see what was about these here. Yeah, in 24 to 48 hours. And when we're invited, yes, we don't go uninvited. We want to make sure that, you know, we can come in because that's the sensitive time. Some people don't want to be bothered. And I respect it. You know, I respect that. But what I found my healing in people who have been through it. You know, I really did. People who knew what to say, you know, and there are some people who love you and they really want to help, but they just don't know what to say, you know.
Okay.
That's just the truth.
All right. Ms. Simone says here, I love this, especially for the African American community. Yes, ma'am. I got to agree with you because, as I said earlier in the program, I've never heard of anything like this. And I never thought of anything like this happening, even though I'm aware of it. But when you tell me the mortality rate that we're having, that means it's definitely needed. Yes. It is definitely needed. Yes. We got another question here. Let's see. Says, that's a big one. Now that the hospitals are tagging mommy and baby and daddy, daddies get tagged too, with the same number, so kids don't get mixed up anymore. Okay, I didn't know they was tagging daddy. See, well, you know, you gotta understand, viewers, I'm old school, so when I went through the hospital, they was kind of like, you know, like, hey, you just wait here, we'll be back, and you'll show your child. So I didn't get a tag like that. No one told me anything, and at the same time, trust me, ain't no one taking them boys. They was going to bring them right back. And once they got a hold of them, they was going to bring them right back. They said, oh, no, we made a mistake. These are yours. All right. So we got another question here from Ms. Ray Fry here. She says, I don't know what's up for a thing. Woo, man, we got a lot of questions to go through. All right.
Hey, Leslie. Love Leslie.
It says, do you look for indicators that grieving mother may need to seek assistance from a professional mental health care worker? If so, what signs determine this? What are your credentials other than real world experience, may I ask?
So I do have a licensed therapist on my staff. So if there is more further help needed to where you know, it requires a degree, then for sure, you know, we do have people that are trained to do that. But we're not advocating anything medical. We're just literally, you know, advocates and trying to support the mom and, you know, trying to talk to her and let her know you're not alone. So
great.
Yeah.
Leslie, Miss Simone here, she says, I wish I had someone in my time. Oh, wow. You know, I bet, Miss Simone, there's probably a lot of women who are feeling like you, like that. Wish there was somebody there for them during their time. I could only imagine what that would be like. It says, she says here also, it's needed as, what is that?
It's needed on comment when I lost my son.
Yes.
That's Kai's mom. So she had Kai in November, and he was born into heaven as well. So
wow.
And hopefully I'm not wrong. It's been a year since November made a year for her. So it was November 2024. I think Leslie, I hope I'm telling you.
So, well, Miss Leslie, I appreciate you for sharing those comments there. And if you don't mind, what was your coping mechanism? We heard from what Miss Christina was going through. How did you cope? If you care to share, if you would, just put it in the chat. You know, if you don't want to care to share this, that's okay. You may stay silent as well. Okay. And if you put it in there, we'll come back to it. All right. So, what's going to be your reach?
So my reach is definitely going to be the female, the mom, of course. But as time goes on, I do plan to have services for grandma and daddy and, you know, my brother and sister. So we're still in the building phase, you know.
Right,
so anything's possible. You know, we're going to evolve and grow.
Okay. All right. We got a statement here from Minister Solomon Prescott. It says, this is real life talk and more people need to know about this. Pastor, I agree with you. This is real life talk because this was something that I was unaware of, and I never really, it's things that you just don't think about that could happen. And I'm glad I had the chance to have Miss Christina not only come to one of my classes, but come during one of our breakfast community events to talk to other community members about this. And we learned so much more, and it really got me to thinking, like, more people need to know about this. More people need to know about your organization and what you guys are doing. So I definitely support you. I'm proud of what you're doing. I think our women in our community definitely need somebody like you. All right. So we got another one. So, okay, we got Miss Leslie. All right. So Miss Leslie says, the questions are just coming in tonight. She says, I really didn't cope because I had 2 Earthside kids at home. So it's really hard to say. I got into running, worship, music, and my husband comfort. That makes a lot of sense to me. That really does. That makes a lot of sense because you really don't get that time to really do what you probably want to do when you already had 2 earthly kids here. So I can wholeheartedly understand that statement from you there. Thank you for sharing. She also says, it's just now, what does that say?
Accepting therapy.
Just now accepting therapy for this. Yes. And it's never too late. It's never too late to accept therapy. It's never too late. Please do not give up on that. It's never too late. Yes. You know,
me and Leslie have already talked. She already said she wanted to be an advocate.
Oh, you want to be an advocate? You would love to join. Well, we're gonna make sure we get you in here, Miss Leslie. We're gonna make sure we get you in here. Yes. All right. All right, Miss Taylor. Let me see here. We got something from her. Ooh, y'all are popping them in tonight.
Make it to delivery and have a.
So Ms. Taylor says, how about services for women who don't make it into delivery? That's kind of what we talked about earlier, Ms. Taylor, or someone asked about miscarriages already. And you kind of, brushed on it. You want to reiterate that?
So, yeah. And I'm glad that you brought that up, LaDonna, because one of my other board of directors, that happened to her. She was 17 weeks, went into the ER and just having pains. She ended up having her baby in the ER, while she was waiting,
Oh, wow.
Yeah. While she was waiting, she was by herself. She didn't have any family there. She didn't have anyone to come. So that's a real thing. And yes, for sure. And I don't want to really put a time. I said 20 weeks. I don't really want to put a time on that because you do need somebody at that point. Your baby has eyebrows and, right. your baby is literally a person at that point. So, right. We definitely would be able to offer services to those women.
Ladies and gentlemen, those who are viewing, please be an advocate, be a voice for Miss Patterson in rooms that she's not in, because she's going to need you to speak on her and her organization to be able to help others. You know, we often forget about things like this, but we're trying to bring this to the forefront. We're trying to make our community aware. We want to let them to know that there is somebody out there who can help them, who's willing to help them, to be by their side. We just need to let them know. So please share this, and please be an advocate in those rooms that she can't be in by herself. Like this, because with your help, we can make this organization become something powerful within our community. I know this, all right, because I know Senile Solutions is definitely going to do their part to advocate for her all that we can. And we just ask that you all continue to do the same. All right. We got a few more questions here I want to get to.
For Miss Thompson, Miss Phyllis Thompson Humphrey.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, we will be able to make house
calls. Y'all be doing house calls? Okay.
I remember being on the bathroom floor, and thank God I had good friends to come pick me up, because I was on that floor, that cold hard floor. Right. I was so down. I couldn't eat. Like all I did was cry. All I did was cry. Like I lost so much weight. I remember I came back to work and they were like, goodness gracious, right? What are you doing? You know, some people that didn't know that I even had they didn't know that my baby had passed. They were just like, oh, what you been doing? I need to do what you was doing. That baby weight fast.
They don't want to do what you was doing.
And I'm like, you don't want to be on this program, baby. Right. This is a sad program.
Right.
So, wow. But I literally, I had some real good friends that was there for me, and I'm so thankful for that.
Yeah, yes, man, that is deep within itself. Do you feel, and I know your children were young at the time, but were they impacted by the loss? And even for you, Ms. Simone, I know you said you had 2 earthly children at the time of your loss. Were your children impacted with the loss of your child?
I know mine's were, because especially my son, after I had my stillbirth, he was just like maybe 2 or 3, and he would come to me and he said, Mom, you don't sing to me anymore. Oof. And I had to think about it. I'm like, I don't, I wasn't happy. I was not in the headspace, but I had a song. All my kids have a song that I've made up for them, because I'm just quirky like that. So they all each have a song that I made, and he was wondering where his was. He's like,
that's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah.
Man, that's tough.
It's true though. It's you don't really think about what's going on around you, because like Leslie was saying in the comments, I saw your comment, Leslie, it feels like your world is still, like your world is not moving anymore. Especially when you just have a baby or your baby's born into heaven, you feel like that baby needed me. That baby needs me, and that baby is gone, and I'm still here. Like you feel like you shouldn't be here. You feel like you should be gone with that baby. That's how I felt. So, and I know that I can't stop anybody from feeling that way, but I can let them know that they're not alone.
I apologize, y'all. She got me all emotional in here. That's tough. Yeah. So we'll take another question we got up here. Miss Leslie, she says, "Oh man, I apologize, y'all. Man, it's just touching me. It really is. It really is. Children will have moments. They will speak about God. Ooh, man.
Or ask why he won't come home, or why we can't go get him. Yeah." I know how that is. Yeah. They want to know where the baby is. They want to see the baby, because you've been planning, and I know Leslie had her baby, her stillbirth pretty much later too. So it was, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Leslie, you were in the 30 or 40th, well, close to 40 weeks. And that is when it's really, 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 I mean, it's hard anyway, but when you get to that point where you've had a baby shower, or I'm about to have a baby shower, and boom, this happens. That's really hard. That is, you got to go. I just remember when my son passed, we had to go in the room and, take everything out, and because we couldn't look at the stuff anymore. We just had to go in the garage. So, and he was here for 5 weeks. And with my daughter, when she passed, stillbirth passed, that was like my mother and father-in-law were on their way here from Sweetwater, Alabama. And they knew I was in the hospital in distress, but they did not know that was going to happen, but they were en route.
Yeah.
And so they couldn't even get here, you know what I'm saying, before we gave them that news. They were still in the car. So my mother-in-law, I just thinking about her, and she went shopping. She, it was her first granddaughter. Right. So she got every little thing in the store she could find. And she ended up giving all those clothes away. And when I had my daughter, my 2-year-old, the lady who she gave the clothes away to gave them back to her. So my baby still got a chance to wear them. So that's the bright in it. There, it's a sad situation, but then at the end of the day, God has a plan.
Yeah.
And we don't understand his plans all the time. We don't know why, but he has a plan. That's all we can. I'm a person who believes in God. I believe in Christ, and all I can do is hold on.
Yeah. I tell you what, you have hit me tonight, and you hit me hard.
I appreciate you.
My heart goes out to y'all ladies. It really does. So I know it's hard. It's gotta be hard. So I appreciate you, Miss Simone, for sharing. And Christine, I appreciate what you're trying to do and you're going to do for our community, because there's going to be a lot of ladies who's going to need this. They're going to need this. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for that. Folks, I would like to keep going, but as you see, it's hard for me already right now. I appreciate everyone for tuning in. I appreciate everyone for sharing. Please put this information out. Get it out there the best way you can, because somebody's going to need this. Somebody's going to need this. And the thought of somebody by themselves laying on the floor with no help, with no one to call, that is agonizing. That is agonizing. And I definitely want Christina and her organization and her people to be there to be able to help somebody. Okay. So thank you all for sharing. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll appreciate you. I appreciate everything that Christina has given to us tonight. The questions that's coming in, I appreciate that. So always remember, your yesterday is not your today, and your today is not your tomorrow. Good night.